Welcome to Storytime, the holy grail of great stories from around the interwebs, brought to you by iHeartRadio and Collab. I am your host, Will Fancy Pants McFadden, and you guys, we did it. We frickin' did it. Can you believe it? This is episode number 10. Number 10, this is officially the end of the first season. We freaking did it. I am super jazzed to celebrate with you guys, and with that, I'm just going to pop this bottle of champagne and do a little toast to all of you. Honestly, these past couple months have meant so much to me, and I gotta say, I don't know what I'd do without you guys, you know, supporting me and accepting me and taking my side against Sheila. Being here with you might be the greatest moment of my entire life, you know? I mean, not counting that time that Mother and I went to the aquarium and I fed a sea otter. And that is why, for episode 10, I wanted to honor the Fable Babies with a listener episode. So, cheers to you, FBs. We freaking did it. Yum. Oh, God, yummy. That's so very good. Champagne. This is great. Wow. You know, why don't we just hop into our first listener tale from a friend of the show named Scott Simons, who is the incredibly talented musician who composed the original Storytime theme song. Take it away, Scott.
Oh, God, that is terrible. What the hell is that? Did it turn? Can champagne turn? God, it tastes like I'm drinking vinegar out of a boot. Mom! Mom, can you bring me some juice?
I've been trying to think of a way to tell this next story for many years. I mean, I've told it in person over a few drinks to friends, but I've never really typed it out in a way that was safe to post or share online. But here goes my best attempt. In January 2013, my 15-year-old cat, after months of tests and guesses by different vets, was diagnosed with skin cancer. The prognosis wasn't good, but with expensive chemo treatment, I could comfortably prolong his life up to another 6 months. That same month, an out-of-town friend of mine posted on Facebook looking for someone who plays piano and sings songs by artists like Billy Joel, the Beatles, as well as some modern stuff. I privately messaged him saying, I don't know if you're looking for someone local, but I used to do a bunch of piano bar gigs before I moved to Los Angeles, and depending on the details, I could be down. My friend replied that it was a 45-minute set for a private party. He didn't know much else and inquired about my rate. I totally undersold myself, but replied $500 plus the flight. It was a free trip, plus $500 towards the cat chemo. Why not? I opened my Gmail inbox the next morning to an introduction email and a reply from a woman with a very fancy name. The email read partially, "Hi Scott, ! We are so grateful you'll be making this trip. Dressed as casual, ! Guests are wearing smoking jackets from the dinner party, but the barn at the island is a casual, and magical place. And we will all want to dance and sing and play and drink, ! I immediately texted my friend, what the fuck have you gotten me into? Turns out the private party was a celebration for the anniversary of the purchase of a private island by one of the 500 richest people in the world. That's not hyperbole. This man was a multi-billionaire who lived in the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. He owned hundreds of thousands of acres of land preserved for hunting, went on African safari often, and had several residences, 3 of which were in the same metropolitan area that he would privately helicopter to and from. This island was one of those residences, and the celebration was an activity-packed weekend with other uber-wealthy friends from all over the world, capped off by Saturday night, piano bar in the barn with entertainment by Scott Simons as seen on X Factor and America's Got Talent. A subsequent email from Fancy Name Lady gave me more info saying, my husband purchased the island 20 years ago, so we are having this special anniversary weekend to celebrate. He has redone the island but kept it to its roots, has an old world and rustic feel. And we have made it into a nature preserve as well, so it is a special and unique place, ! We will collect you at the dock on our private boat. It is a 5-minute ride. Super easy. Collect me? I thought. I don't think I've ever been collected before. What am I, stamps? A week later, I landed at the closest airport, met my friend who drove me another 2 hours, waited at a random wooden dock overlooking a bay that looked like something out of a Norman Rockwell painting, and eventually, as promised, I was collected by their private boat. Upon the boat's arrival at the island and my transfer into a black Mercedes-Benz SUV, I noticed a couple of very odd things. For starters, all of the high grass was exactly the same height, 5-ish feet if I had to guess. Secondly, there were pheasants running around frantically as we drove down the gravel road towards the barn. I later found out that part of the weekend was a pheasant hunt, and these poor birds, with clipped wings, I assume, were the targets. I decided discretion was probably a good move, so I wouldn't take any pictures or text any friends while on the island, which was rendered impossible anyway by the 0 bars of cell phone service I had. When I arrived at the barn, I was let in by one of the groundskeepers and told to help myself to the spread of meats, cheeses, and wines, and to just relax until I was given notice that the party was on its way from their dinner in another one of the 7 buildings on the 7 Mile Island. I've been a pescatarian for many years, but I wasn't going to turn down some billionaire venison alongside the expensive French wine and assortment of stinky cheeses. I went upstairs to the living room to the barn, which had been remodeled and exquisitely decorated with taxidermied animals, rustic furniture, and original Audubon Society wildlife paintings. This was no ordinary barn. I checked out the piano and set up my requested small sound system. Then I returned downstairs to hang for a couple hours waiting for the word that it was time to perform. I continued to indulge in the food they left out for me and took a glance at my surroundings. There were incredible historical artifacts on the walls, including a John Wilkes Booth wanted poster, a newspaper declaring the attack on Fort Sumter signifying the start of the Civil War, and a theater program from the 1860s framed behind glass. My friend and I went up to the 3rd floor to play some table tennis and kill time under a massive poster announcing the Emancipation Proclamation signed by Lincoln. As a West Virginian, Civil War history is a very familiar subject due to the founding of my home state, and I was fascinated by this collection throughout the house. All of a sudden, the groundskeeper from before burst back into the barn holding a walkie-talkie and said, "They're on the move." I hastily threw on my all-black and headed to the piano to await the dinner party. From the 2nd floor window, I saw 7 pairs of headlights of 7 identical black Mercedes-Benz SUVs heading down the road towards the barn. I sat at the piano, and as the party chattily walked up the steps into the living room, I did the same G minor to C7 2-chord vamp from Rocket Man I'd opened so many of my piano bar sets with in the past. There were 14 people total, 7 couples. The women in elegant evening wear, the men with cigars in their mouths, in suits hidden by smoking jackets. "She packed my bags last night, pre-flight." I started to an audience staring deadpan at me, which continued for the remainder of the song. "Thank you," I said to the silence, awkwardly turned the page on my lyrics, and started my go-to second song, My Life by Billy Joel. The 14-person audience started to mill about quietly, ordering drinks from the rented bartender and paying no mind to my set. A bead of sweat ran from my forehead to my brow. For the 3rd song, I tried something I wasn't as familiar with, Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac. The women perked up. A few of them ran to the piano and sat around me and shouted the responses in the chorus at my microphone. "Go your own way!" I was surrounded by sequins and fake boobs and trying my hardest to look straight ahead at my lyrics. Nowhere else. The men smiled and started to sing along a little bit, and I sighed with relief and segued to my next song. 30 minutes into my set, one of the men, who I later found out was the CEO of one of the foremost financial institutions in the world and a former Olympic gold medalist, approached me and asked if I knew any Norwegian songs. Norwegian songs? Like traditional Norwegian songs? I'm sorry, I don't. I took a second and half-jokingly said, "I can play Norwegian Wood by the Beatles, though." And he looked at me and said, "You don't know Aha?" Of course, I knew the Norwegian pop group Aha with the pencil sketch stylized MTV video from my childhood. Without saying a word, I started the familiar opening lick to the 80s smash hit Take On Me. The CEO Olympian smiled. His Norwegian wife screeched with delight. The 45-minute mark came and went, and I kept playing and playing. I was determined to impress and see if I could make a little more than the agreed-upon $500. These people were rich as fuck, and they were really into my set now, stomping and hugging and dancing and shouting along. I reached the 2-hour and 45-minute mark when I felt my voice start to give out. I looked down and noticed my right thumbnail had chipped, and I was bleeding all over the keys of the grand piano. It was time for a break. I stood up and said to one of the women hanging by the piano, "I'm sorry, but I need a shot of whiskey or something for my voice, and then I'll start playing again." She laughed and said, "You've been playing for almost 3 hours without a break. I think you're probably okay to call it a night." As I started to walk away from her, it dawned on me that she was a famous, recognizable movie star. I can't tell you who it was, but trust me, you would know her. Where the fuck am I? I thought as I leaned my elbows on the rent-a-bar. While I was at the bar, the CEO Olympian approached me and said, "Thank you so much. I would give up 30 years of investment banking to do what you just did." I laughed and said, "No, you wouldn't. You don't want to live in a 1-bedroom apartment in West Hollywood." He laughed a little too hard at that joke. When the Moroccan art dealer jumped onto the dining room table as a Flo Rida song started over the speaker system, I knew my set was over. I was sipping my whiskey, keeping a low profile when the billionaire, the island's owner, approached me for our first meeting. The whole night I hadn't met him yet. He was noticeably drunk and very pleased with my set. I didn't expect this accent, but In a southern drawl, he said, "You were great. Where are you from?" From, I replied. "Well, I'm from West Virginia," as I often respond in self-protect mode to give myself some red state cred when I hear someone with a southern accent. "But I live in Los Angeles now." "West Virginia, huh? So you're one of us," he said. "One of what?" I started to ask. "Hey, Sarah, come here. He's one of us," he yelled over his shoulder. A mid-40s blonde in a short sequin dress danced up to me with a drink in her hand. "Oh, hey, I'm from Charlotte. Where are you from?" "Oh, hi. Well, I'm from West Virginia, but I live in LA now." "Oh, but you get it. The southern thing?" The what?" "Oh, I mean, maybe, I guess. My parents are from the Northeast, and actually West Virginia isn't really southern. In fact, we fought for the North in the Civil War and became a state when I was rambling nervously." The billionaire interjected. "Oh, I know about the Civil War. I have a thing about Lincoln." "Oh yeah, I noticed. Are all those posters and newspapers and things around the barn real?" "Yes, they are. All of them." Then it hit me. You know, like the end of The Usual Suspects when Chaz Palminteri drops the coffee mug upon realization that Kaiser Sose was verbal Kent all along? Spoiler alert, but you've had 20-something years to watch the movie. He said about Lincoln. Not I have a thing for Lincoln, but about Lincoln. My mind flashed to the 1862 theater program from a show starring would-be Lincoln assassin John Wilkes Booth. The Fort Sumter attack newspaper headline. The Emancipation Proclamation poster with a blackface caricature exclaiming "Free at last." The John Wilkes Booth wanted poster. Holy shit. I'm stuck on an island with some sort of neo-secessionists. Like, I have nowhere to go. I'm on a 7-mile island with 7 buildings and 7 couples, surrounded by water and no cell phone service. And I'm supposed to spend the night in this barn after the party. Once the party winded down and the couple started to leave, I went back to the bar and asked for a glass of champagne as a nightcap. Eddie the bartender handed me 2 opened but barely touched bottles of Dom Perignon Reserve. Like, they're so expensive I don't even know if I'm saying Dom Perignon right. Is it Dom Perignon? Dom Perignon? I don't know. Anyway, Eddie said, "They're not going to finish these." My friend and I shut ourselves in his suite in the barn and finished off as much as we could while recapping the insane events of the evening till 4 a.m. We wore gray robes that we found in some closet. After a while, I went to my room and passed out in my bed beneath a creepy 1800s painting of a child in a dress next to a wooden table with toy teacups. At 8 a.m., I heard a heavy knock on my door. It was the groundskeeper. "It's time to go," she said, while handing me an envelope. A bit hungover, or possibly still drunk from the 2 bottles of champagne, I gathered my things and loaded them into the black Mercedes-Benz SUV. We drove down the road, through the high grass with the pheasants, to the dock, and boarded the private boat. Once we were across the sound and in his car, my friend said, "Well, how much did they give you? $500 as promised?" I opened the white envelope and counted. $3,000 cash, roughly the same amount as 6 months of cat chemo. I gave my friend 10% booking commission as a thank you, and now that I had cell phone service and was back in civilization, I texted another friend in the closest city. "Meet me for brunch in 2 hours. You are not going to believe this shit."
Scott, dude, you are too trusting. I mean, those billionaires, they could have done anything they wanted to you once they got you on that island. They could have gone full ready or not on you and forced you to play some kill or be killed game of hide and seek where you have to stay alive till morning. You know, or they could have done crazy experiments on you and turned you into some sort of half man, half beast Island of Dr. Moreau style. Or they could have gone eyes wide shut on you and, you know, force you to play piano while they have a masquerade orgy, which now that I mention it, it doesn't sound that bad. But, I mean, you are lucky you got out of there alive, you beautiful idiot. So, what would today be if not a day to have a celebratory feast to go along with that celebratory drink? Oh God, why did I drink more of it? Anyway, I stopped by the grocery store earlier and grabbed all the fixins to treat myself to a lobster dinner. Well, kind of. It's a crab dinner. Well, kind of a crab dinner. It's more of a seafood salad concoction from the deli counter. And it was also marked down on account of it being only 2 days old, so it's a total score. It's also like the fanciest side salad there. I mean, the crab in it is spelled with a K, K-R-A-B, which I'm pretty sure is top of the line. Like, I'm pretty sure this is what those billionaires were eating on that island. Oh, hello. Looks like we have a live one calling into the Storytime hotline. Let's hear what they got to say.
I was in middle school, okay? And it was like a big party. Everybody was invited to like this big party. It was kind of like an elk lounge type thing. And so I begged my mom to go, and I had on my mom's like bedazzled pants. They were capris. They made my butt look fabulous, but they were super tight. Like if I fart, the pants was gonna rip, okay? So, once you put on pants, once you move around a little bit, they get a little loose. And you're like, oh, okay, I could do things. I could maneuver around and move on my right. So I went to the party, and at the time, Pop, Lock, and Drop It was popping. And so I'm in the middle of the dance floor, and I pop, lock, and drop it. One time, I felt confident because I got back up real quick with that snap back. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do it again. Pop, lock, and drop it 2 times. I was like, all right, cool. It's 3rd time's the charm. It's 3rd time's the charm. I did it the 3rd time, and my pants ripped from the rooter to the tutor. I'm talking about ass out. So I got up real quick, and my friends were in a little circle around me, and we had to run to the bathroom. Thank God it was dimly lit, because nobody saw my pink underwear, thank the Lord. I had to call my mom and stand in the bathroom until my mom got there, and she came in, gave me some pants, and took me home.
From the rooter to the tutor. Now, I know what the tutor is, but I am not quite sure about the rooter. But man, do I relate to this story. I don't know if you can tell by the sound of my voice, but I have a dummy thick trunk, as the kids would say, a juicy cake, how do you say, a fat ass, that combined with my proclivity for deep lunges has resulted in many blown out crotches of pants. And I mean, if I had a new pair of pants for every time I ripped a pair of pants, well, I mean, that would be ideal. I would be at a break even. So, oh, my Uber Story has arrived. Oh yeah, it's Uber Story. It's a new service they're beta testing right now where you can order a fresh, original, entertaining story. It says here my storyteller's named Gogo Lomo David, and he's waiting outside. Oh, cool. Let's hear what he's got to say.
All right. It's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. And I've been hanging out with this girl named Sarah Taylor. And we've been hanging out for about a month or so. And, we were just kissing friends. We were just friends that kiss because she didn't want a relationship. So we just, we would just greet each other with a kiss. It's cool, And that was just what it was. So we're coming out of this acting class and we wanted to get some food. So we go to Panera. But Panera had just closed early because it's the day before Thanksgiving. So we decided to go to Starbucks. Starbucks is always open. So we go to Starbucks, I get a protein pack because I'm like, well, I'm about to eat a lot of food. So let me just get this protein pack to be healthy today, So I get the protein pack, we go back to her place, we're just hanging out, chilling out, I'm giving her a little back massage, just having a conversation. And we start talking about her footage for her reel and how she had just shot a web series about 2 months ago with her ex-boyfriend. And he's the director of photography. And how she wants to get the footage. And I said, well, call him up to get the footage. And she was like, well, it's too soon. I'm not ready to have that conversation because they haven't spoken since the breakup. I'm like, okay, cool. You do you. That's cool. You want to do that? You want to talk to him? It's fine. It's fine. Do you. And so we kind of moved on and she was getting ready for a Friendsgiving and I was getting ready to go do some Uber driving. So we part ways and get my protein back. And I started driving, picking up some people and it's a good day on the Uber journeys. And then I decided to take a break. I said, okay, let me have that protein pack that I bought earlier. So it took me like an hour to eat it. Like I took my time with it. I had the little 2 boiled eggs with the bread, with the cheese. You know what I'm talking about. That's a hearty meal. You got to enjoy that. Enjoy every piece of that food. So I did. And then I started driving again and I ended up in Los Feliz. And I picked up these 2 brothers. The older brother's named Thomas, and the younger brother's named Ben. So, put their stuff in the car. I'm already getting good vibes from them. And they are going to Pennsylvania for Thanksgiving to visit their family. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I was born in Pennsylvania. So, we already bonded. I'm like, yo, these are my boys already. Like, this is going to be a great, great trip. So, I started talking about my life. And I was like, yeah, there's this girl that I'm kind of hanging out with, and she doesn't want a relationship, and we were just kind of hanging out. And I was like, but you guys must be like each other's wingman because y'all so close in age. And they were like, well, one of us is usually in a relationship and one's usually single, so it doesn't really work out. I was like, okay, cool, I understand that. And I was like, well, where did y'all go to school? So the younger brother went to school in Florida. The older brother went to school, he went to Chapman. I was like, oh, I know somebody that went to Chapman. He was like, who? I was like, well, her name is Sarah Taylor. And then it got real quiet. And both the brothers, they just looked at each other. And Thomas was like, that's my ex-girlfriend. And I was like, oh. I was like, I know all about you. And then I just had word bombing. I was like, you shot her web series and she want to get that footage, but she's too soon to ask because she don't want to talk to you right now. And I was just vomiting out all of this information that was totally unnecessary. And so once I did that, we started having a conversation about her. And he was like, yeah, they broke up because she didn't want to be in a relationship. And I was like, well, she still doesn't want to be in a relationship. And so then he realized that the person I was talking about earlier was his ex-girlfriend. And then he was like, oh, well, this just went from a 5-star ride to a 1-star ride. And I'm like, wait a minute, you don't want to infringe upon, my ratings. I got to get them 5 stars. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm driving you to the airport. And so the brother was trying to smooth things over, and he was like, you know what, it's cool, because, you guys will probably work together. And then we were both like, why would you say that? Then he was like, yeah, you'll definitely work together. And so it just added insult to injury. And at that moment, I really wanted to comfort Thomas because I'm that comforting friend, but I couldn't comfort him because I'm the guy that's kissing his ex-girlfriend. So anyway, I dropped him off and he was like, well, tell Sarah I said hello. I said, okay, I will. Have a safe flight. So of course, naturally, I immediately called Sarah. I was like, I just picked up your ex-boyfriend in the Uber. And she was like, oh my God. And I was like, yeah. And then I just was telling him all this thing. She was like, oh no. And then I was like, yeah, well, I guess you can ask for your footage now.
That is a 5-star story right there. I mean, so awkward. If my ex-wife Sheila's new boy toy Hal got in the backseat of my Uber, let's just say I would not offer him water or gum. But he could use the phone charger because I'm not a monster. Wow, you guys, I am living right now. I'm sipping on that champagne. Why is this so bubbly? I'm dining on that fancy Krabby Krab seafood sensation salad. Ooh, it's mostly mayonnaise. Everything's great. Everything feels exactly as it should be, And guess what? I'm about to kick it up a notch because I've got a secret surprise for everyone. Here's a little hint. This episode is about to be lit. Chew on that while you listen to an inspirational story about an underdog with a long shot from way downtown.
In 7th grade, my middle school did not have physical education classes. Instead, every student, regardless of their athletic ability, had to play an interscholastic team sport for all 3 seasons. Now, I was a decent soccer player, and I could hit a tennis ball over the net. But when it came to the winter sports, I sucked at basketball. I went to tryouts, and being the worst player, they put me on the B team. And the B team was bad, but we weren't hopeless. We had a couple of games early on in that season that we objectively could have won. There was the game Tommy Williamson hit a layup right as time expired, which would have won us the game. But coach called timeout before the ball went in, so it didn't count, and we lost in overtime. Then there was the game Nikki Bear hit a beautiful fadeaway 3-point jumper at the buzzer, but we were down by 4, so it didn't matter. Now it's the 6th game of the season. We're 0-5, and we're traveling to play a school called Mater Dei. And None of us knew anything about Mater Dei, but we did know that we were improving. So Coach was convinced that this game would be the turning point of our season. We get to Mater Dei and quickly discover Mater Dei is a powerhouse of basketball. And just 3 minutes into the game, we're already down 14-0. Coach looks up and down the bench for his first substitution, and our eyes connect. And I'm thinking, no, there is no way you are going to put me in the game this early. But before I could open my mouth, he pointed at me and said, "Zeldin, get in there." Let me translate what Zeldin get in there meant. Zeldin get in there meant that a bad situation was about to get a whole lot worse. Zeldin get in there was the point in the game in which we conceded defeat. Zeldin get in there meant that we lost. My role on 7th grade B team basketball was to signal to the other team, we know we no longer stand a chance at winning, so please stop scoring on us. And I really hated that role. I stepped onto the court and a teammate passed me the ball, which was very strange because I only knew how to do two things with a basketball. Either I could immediately pass it to somebody else on our team, or I could get the ball stolen from me. I look for the pass and everyone's guarded. Now I'm thinking, great, one of these big guys is going to wrestle the ball out of my hands, bounce it that way, and lay it into our hoop. But that didn't happen either. The guy who was supposed to be guarding me backed away from me, daring me to shoot the ball. I look at the hoop in the distance, and it is very far away. And I look down at my feet, and I am way behind the three-point line. But I figure, what the heck? Let's just see what happens. So I bent my little knees, and with all my strength, I heaved that ball. Now, I had seen basketball on television before. I knew what a basketball shot was supposed to look like. This was not that. It was high, it was flat, it had no spin. But like a dying quail, it fell from the sky, hit the backboard, and went in. And the team goes wild. The bench is on their feet. Guys are rubbing my head. Coach calls timeout. We gather together, and now we've got energy. Now we believe in ourselves. Of course, I go right back to the bench where I belong, but we looked at each other, and we all knew what was going to happen next. We were going to come from behind. We were going to win this game. We were going to win every game for the rest of the season, march our way through the playoffs, and hold the championship trophy high above our heads. But this was not a Disney movie. When the game ended, Mater Dei scored 68 points, and we scored 3. Coach was right about one thing that day. This game was the turning point of our season. Because for the rest of the year, whenever Coach said, "Zeldin, get in there," he no longer was conceding defeat. Zeldin get in there meant that stepping onto the court was our secret weapon. The legend, who once scored every single point for one team in a game of basketball.
Bad News Bears, Mighty Ducks, Rudy, they got nothing on young Zeldin. Man, what a legend. I mean, can LeBron James say he scored every point for his team in a game? No, he can't. You know who can? Zeldin can. And that's why he's the MVP of my heart. All right. Now, what kind of a podcast host would I be if I didn't sign off on my very first season of Storytime without a bang? A pretty boring one, I tell ya. So, I went down to the secret basement of the corner store and I bought myself some homemade illegal fireworks. That's right, because everyone loves fireworks. I love them. My mom loves them. Dogs love them. It's true. Dogs love them. That's why they're always joining in and barking along with the booms. They want to get in on the action, you know? I mean, For Celine's sake, even my ex-wife Sheila loves fireworks, and she only really loves two things in this world: her new shit boyfriend Hal and hurting my feelings. But you know what? I'm not going to be sad about it anymore. Episode 1 host Will Dumpy McFadden was sad about it, but not Episode 10 host Will the kick-ass, conquering, confident conquistador McFadden. Okay, I'll work on it. Anyway, let's light these suckers. Okay, here they go. Oh, God, that's headed for that tree. Who put that tree there? Oh, crap. Oh, no. Uh-oh. Oh, that's really bad. That's the tree is on fire. It's really catching on fire. What is this tree made of? Paper? What the hell? Oh, God, I should call somebody. I gotta call somebody. Yes, hello, 911. I was just out having an evening walk and enjoying that, and then there was a tree that's just on fire out of nowhere. So weird. Thank you for listening. As always, I want to give a huge shout out to our fearless storytellers. Now, would you like to be a storyteller in an upcoming episode? If you have a great story to tell, record it and send it to storytime@collab.inc, or call the Storytime hotline and leave us a message. Give us a call at 323-741-1873, and we'll share our favorites on our next listener episode. Oh, you're still listening? Cool. Well, if you've gotten this deep into the episode, you might as well rate it, review it, and share it with a friend. Or an enemy. Makes no difference to me as long as I get those sweet, sweet streams. Storytime is produced by iHeartRadio and Collab. Executive producers Eric Jacks, Song Kang, and Will McFadden. Hosted by Will McFadden. Produced by Jessica Eccles, Jason Shapiro, Daniela Mora, and Jenny Ulmer. Written by Jenny Ulmer. Sound design by Tony Maddox. Original score by Scott Simons. Cover art by John Kusagaya. Animation by Bella Bouchon.